park's treatment of SeaWorld is a nationally loved theme park that's been thrown into the public eye for less than desirable reasons. A true view into the park's treatment of its animals. The park, other than having water-based rides, has shows that include trained animals and exhibits showing animals in their natural habitat, quote-unquote. On the outside, it all looks very sweet, but behind the scenes, the way the animals are treated has surfaced, and people are outraged. Check out these 5 things SeaWorld is hiding from you. Before we begin, make sure you hit that subscribe button to get notified every day for more amazing content. With that being said, SeaWorld employees are advised to lie. The animals that are kept at SeaWorld are obviously not in their natural habitat, despite having their surroundings look very similar. These animals are not meant to be in a confined area, being looked at by millions of people each year. SeaWorld employees are given a scripted explanation to give whenever an animal isn't behaving the way it should be, so as to make sure the audience is not concerned. Basically, lying to the visitors. Just like in any form of training, giving rewards to the animal as a way to condition their behavior is a classic move. At SeaWorld, however, they take that notion to a whole new level. Trainers are instructed to starve orcas if they do not perform well, and do the exact opposite when they do, so as to teach them the proper way to behave in front of the audience in a show. This form of training is unacceptable to proper trainers worldwide, so when this came out, you can only imagine how people felt. The thing is, an orca's lifespan is much shorter in captivity, and this compounds the cruel treatment of being starved. Male orca whales have a life expectancy of 60 to 70 years in the wild, where the females can live up to 100 years. In captivity, however, their life expectancy drops dramatically to only 13 years. If that's any indication of the fact that they're not meant to live in those conditions and therefore should not be there in the first place, we don't know what is. Their deaths in SeaWorld is announced to the public, but their life expectancy, in fact, is always hidden. And if you see an orca with a collapsed dorsal fin, it means that the whale is unhealthy. SeaWorld is trained to say that the bent fin is normal, but that is an outright lie on their behalf. Nearly all of the orca whales in captivity have this condition, clearly marking their displeasure at being held against their natural state. Orca whales are meant to be swimming in very large oceans, interacting with other whales of their kind. When they're in captivity, though, they behave differently, and as such, you see their worn teeth from constantly chewing on the metal cage they're put in, or see them floating about the tank with no purpose. They are known to be a danger to humans, for this reason exactly. They are not meant to be held by them. One of the most kept secrets at SeaWorld is the fact that the trainers and the staff hide from the guests how smart and intelligent these killer whales really are. It might come as a surprise, but the orcas actually have the second biggest brains when compared to other mammals. Their intellectual skills are so advanced, and they include teaching their calves how to imitate other animals, and they can pick up on different dialects easily. Their emotional intelligence is also amongst the highest. Number 4! The orca suffer sunburn, and small tanks damage their health. Orca whales in nature go deeper into the water when the sun's in full force because their skin is rather sensitive. In their tanks at SeaWorld, they don't have the option of going deeper into the water, at least not deep enough.
Yeah, go to mommy. Go to mommy. I can't do it. Go to mommy. Yeah, mommy.
To shield themselves. In order to not freak out the visitors and have them ask questions about the whale's unusual look, the park's trainers put black zinc oxide on the whale's skin to cover up the burns. And the tanks these whales are in are small. The average tank size at SeaWorld that holds performing orcas are about 350 feet long, or 1/7 of a mile. The stifling size of the tank eliminates nearly half of the swimming activity an orca would complete in the wild, which is essential to their health. These tanks might as well be kiddie swimming pools compared to some of these whales. The lack of space in these tanks often contributed to the collapse of the whale's dorsal fins, which is not a common aging effect of the wild orca. In the past, SeaWorld has insisted that a collapsed dorsal fin is a natural occurrence in the life of an orca, but in actuality, the result of a damaged fin is the scientific symptom of an unhealthy or malnourished whale. It isn't just the size of SeaWorld's tanks that induce severe health hazards to the captured whales. In 2012, an orca named Nakai at the San Diego park was injured by a sharp metal edge inside of his tank. Nakai was trying to remove himself from an altercation that occurred between two other orcas and was seriously hurt during his attempt to flee from the other aggressive whales. Wild orcas are not violent by nature. Those who are held in captivity and in close quarters are likely to fight and injure one another. Orcas in captivity are already subjected to an unhealthy diet that contradicts the nutrients and supplements they would consume if they were living in the wild. Unfortunately, thawed, dead fish aren't the biggest threat that's entering the body of a SeaWorld whale. If a trainer is unable to get a rowdy or overly excited orca under control, they force-feed them sedative drugs to put them under. These drugs usually include benzos, antipsychotics, and, at times, contraceptives. These types of medication are foreign to the physiology of a whale and therefore should not be used. Also, the chlorine levels in the tank water at SeaWorld have been known to affect the physical health of the orcas. The spikes of chlorine in tanks are so high that they've produced mucus streams from their eyes, caused the skins on their backs and head to peel off, and they're more likely to develop eyesight problems. Good gosh darn work, SeaWorld. Number 3. Trainers are performers and are in danger at the same time. SeaWorld is dealing with a very large animal in a very irregular surrounding. As such, trainers that are around this animal are in constant danger. According to the corporate incident reports, there were more than 200 serious...
Pórtate bien, tus amigas se ríen, que con lo con te pillas de ayer, ese arroz con hielo. Bota ese bum bum tan tan, ese bum bum tan tan tan, bota ese bum bum. Pórtate bien, tus amigas se ríen, que con lo con te pillas de ayer, ese arroz con hielo. Bota ese bum bum tan tan, ese bum bum tan tan tan, bota ese.
Serious injuries sustained by SeaWorld trainers. The damage an orca whale can do to a human 1/8 its size is immeasurable. The injuries vary from bites to bruises to much more serious situations of internal bleeding and, as we know, death. Visitors are encouraged to believe that the SeaWorld trainers are professional marine biologists due to their amount of knowledge of the animal. That is, in fact, totally wrong. Trainers at SeaWorld are nothing more than performers and have no academic knowledge or otherwise about their show's animal. Their purpose is to entertain the crowd and keep them as happy as can be so they continue to flow through the gates. Most of the trainers know nothing of the intricate life form in front of them. In early 2016, Tilikum, the orca who killed several trainers, was diagnosed with a bacterial lung infection that was rendered as terminal. The 35-year-old orca lived for the next year in continued captivity before passing away in January 2017. As the star of Blackfish, Tilikum was responsible for spreading awareness regarding the poor treatment and unnatural diet whales in captivity have to endure. He was the first orca in SeaWorld history to grandfather future generations before his death, beating out the average lifespan of most whales held in captivity. When orcas are in their natural environment, they obtain water and keep themselves hydrated from the prey they hunt. However, in captivity, the whales don't have the opportunity to do that, and so SeaWorld stuffs the mammals with gelatin, a thickening substance that's obviously not healthy for them, just to keep them hydrated. Tilikum, for instance, before his sad death, would consume 83 pounds of gelatin alone on a daily basis when he weighed around 12,000 pounds. Number 2. SeaWorld San Diego cited by OSHA. In April 2015, SeaWorld San Diego, one of the many SeaWorld parks internationally, was cited by OSHA, the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, 4 times, and giving the park a $25,770 fine as well. These citations are to mark the lack of protection for employees with the animals they're trained to be with, as well as criticizes their teaching. Methods of the trainers themselves. This is the root of the behavioral issue at the park, other than the obvious fact that these animals shouldn't be in captivity to begin with. After a lot of the ill treatment on behalf of SeaWorld came out, people were beginning to protest the park's motives and conglomerate type of handling. Just like humans wouldn't want their love interest to be forced on them, the orcas also don't want to be forced to breed. Apparently, the SeaWorld trainers would impose an unnatural breeding on the poor orcas who are used to choosing their own mates when at sea. Not only were they forced to breed, but also at a much younger age than they're supposed to, and with the same family members. Thankfully, after much criticism and objections, in March 2016, SeaWorld made an announcement they were stopping their horrible breeding acts. As a result of public outcry and empathy for the animals, 3 class action lawsuits were brought against the parks for fraud and manipulation. All 3 suits claimed that the parks consistently ensured their customers that the well-being of the orcas was their first priority and that they were well taken care of. The public's choice to act on behalf of the mistreated orcas demonstrated a stance of solidarity and the lack of approval SeaWorld now receives. SeaWorld has been accused multiple times of their unfair prejudice hiring. According to allegations that were made against the park, over 1,000 of minority applicants, especially Hispanics and African Americans, were turned down just for their ethnicity. Besides being extremely discriminating, this is also problematic in the sense that there are no professional representatives for minority children who come to visit the park and want to have their own role models. That is just wrong and almost unbelievable to grasp in 2018. Number 1. SeaWorld's Orca Monopoly. Globally, there are 58 orcas that live in captivity, and SeaWorld currently occupies at least 23 of them. The orcas work at the parks as performance animals and suffer as a result. The average lifespan of an orca in the wild is 30 to 50 years, but due to captivity and a life of trained performance requirements, SeaWorld's orcas have a lifespan of about 13 years. The generation of orcas performing at SeaWorld today are the last generation they plan to. We wish injury Nakai sustained when fleeing a fight, orcas become aggressive and charge at one another when kept together in small spaces. The orcas are taken over by an overwhelming amount of stress and anxiety that produces an abnormal burst of anger. Consequently, they also bully the smaller marine mammals they're locked up with. Dolphins, for example, are far too commonly bit by upset orcas while in captivity. Social rules in the whale world dictate that violence is a no-no, but when held captive in tanks, they have nowhere to swim off to when they need to calm down and avoid physical outrage. To continue the orca generation within the SeaWorld family, the parks began artificially inseminating female whales at a surprisingly young age. The women would be inseminated, become pregnant, and after giving birth to their calves, were immediately separated from them. Taking a newborn calf away from its mother directly from the womb leads to mental health implications in the mothers, clearly. They experience a form of clinical depression, and their babies may live an unhealthy lifestyle without their parent around to raise them. Hope you enjoyed the video, Top 5ers. If you haven't already, check out our other
2, 3, dive! You're so far off the edge. I'm just kidding. Woo! You're gonna meet her the dry way, okay, buddy? That's why you got those boots on. Will you promise to stay up here with me? Yeah, okay. Now, Dolly and her friend Corona are looking for us. They're trying to find out exactly where they're supposed to be, and they're actually supposed to be over here with us. So we're going to wait for a moment and let them figure it out. Now, Dolly is being joined by one of her friends, Corona, who was actually born right here in this show pool. And they look like they're swimming around. They're a little bit lost. Now, here in SeaWorld, if the animals do get confused, we do allow them to figure some things out on their own. They're very intelligent animals. Let's go ahead and help them out a little bit. And it looks like Dolly figured it out. Hi, Dolly. Good to see you. And Corona must be swimming around somewhere. Oh, there she is. I think she's figured it out. Hi, Corona. All right, now, Jake, since we have both animals here, what I want you to do, look at me. You're going to take your fingers like this, and you're going to bounce them up and down. Ready? Go. Very nice. Jake, you did great. I'm actually going to give you a fish, and you can feed Dolly right here. Perfect. Here's another one. You can feed it to her. Go ahead and toss it in. Very good. And we're going to point Dolly back, and we're actually going to play with Corona. Now, you want to play one of our favorite games? It's called Splash Me in the Face. To play, scoop up some water and start splashing her, and don't stop till there's a winner. Ready, Jake? Go. Here, Jake. Keep splashing us, Jake. I think you won that game. Good job. All right, we're going to do one final thing. Come on up here and you can give her a back rub. Very nice. Jake, what do you think she feels like? A hot dog. Jake, you have done such a great job. You can go with my friend Kelly and we're going to get a picture with you and Corona in the slide out. Hot dog.
Look up here on the bridge. Let's hear one more time for Jake.
That's not very cool. You have to try to turn around and get out of the store.
Wow, that's a nice Ladies and gentlemen, that's Dolly, and as you've hopefully already figured out, zero winner. Alright, Kelly, what power are we going to top that one? We're just going to leave it up to these magnificent animals. Alright, everyone, let's get those hands clapping one more time. Helps to remind us of our responsibility to lead the way. Now, today you've seen the Sidman family interact with our dolphin family.
Michael Fujiwara's video is getting worldwide attention.
It went viral just overnight, like 1 million plus views.
Fujiwara was recording a large male sea lion at Richmond Steveston Wharf yesterday evening.
Huge crowds just started gathering around me, and a young girl came along with their family, and they started feeding the animal, just breadcrumbs, and they were getting a little too close to the animal.
For a while, all was well, as the girl, who looked 6 or 7, stood right at the water's edge. Suddenly, the sea lion snapped at her, and then a few moments later, this.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
Instantly, a man jumped in. It's believed he was with the girl's group. Then, as quickly as it started, it was over. The girl and her family left the wharf.
There were no injuries or anything, everything was good, but everyone was pretty shocked.
Today, this sign went up at the wharf. Feeding sea lions has become a big problem. They hang around hoping for scraps from boats and from visitors. The head of the Harbor Authority hopes the video will serve as a warning.
Now we finally have something out there that's going to grab people's attention and show them exactly why they shouldn't be behaving like this.
It's rare, but sea lions do occasionally attack, usually when people get too close. In most cases, experts say the animals aren't the problem.
You should not think these are just characters out of a Disney movie. They're not pets. They're wild animals. They've got teeth. They can bite. And even unintentionally, you can get bitten. So you want to keep your distance from them.
He says people would never let their children feed a bear, and the same should go for a sea lion. Mira Baines, CBC News, Richmond.
Guys, we're gonna put on one more because I don't know. I like to watch these commercials. I'm gonna skip this one, see if I can tell them
Shark attack! Shark attack!
last one, I promise, guys. I don't want to make this
14 Ocean's Deadliest Creatures. I'm just kidding. I have a horrible accent. Number 14, pufferfish. These fish contain extremely deadly toxins that can only be received through consumption, meaning their deadliness is very easy to avoid. Just don't eat them. Unfortunately, they're a popular food item in Japan, Korea, and China. Consuming this fish has led to consumers becoming hospitalized and even dying by dining on this deadly delicacy. The toxin will deaden the tongue and lips and induce dizziness and vomiting, followed by an accelerated heart rate, decreased blood pressure, and muscle paralysis. If you make it through the first 24 hours after ingesting the toxin, you will most likely survive the ordeal. A family of 11 unknowingly ate a pufferfish in 2014 and were all hospitalized in critical condition as a result. Luckily, every member of the family survived the incident. Number 13, flower urchin. While these sea creatures look about as deadly as a shower poof, the potent venom that they contain make them a potentially dangerous and deadly menace. Their venom contains two harmful toxins, one
Where? No, you gotta go over there. No, you gotta go.
That causes muscle spasms, and another that causes convulsions, shock, and even death. The venom is delivered through the flower-like structures that give the urchin its name. This urchin has been responsible for many deaths throughout the years, and have been called the most dangerous sea urchin by the Guinness Book of World Records. Number 12. Stonefish. You don't have to be a predator to be considered deadly, and this fish is living proof of that. Stonefish can look like a piece of the ocean floor, enabling them to hide in plain sight. They have 13 needle-sharp spines, which they use to defend themselves from predators like sharks. If you are unlucky enough to step on one of these, the results are not very much fun. The venom in its spine can cause temporary paralysis and can be fatal if not treated quickly enough. As dangerous and as venomous as they are to humans, they are regularly found as a food item in many Asian countries. Number 11. Moray eel. Good luck finding a scarier creature than the moray eel. Not only do these predators look scary, but they can do some real damage as well. Moray eels have extremely sharp teeth and unbelievably powerful jaws that can cause some serious wounds that have a good chance of becoming infected thanks to the bacteria inside of the eel's mouth. Brush your teeth, yo. The reputation that their frightful appearance has given them is entirely unearned. In reality, moray eels would rather flee than fight human beings and only attack by accident or in self-defense. Number 10. Viperfish. These deep-sea dwellers can be found in the
What's up and how are you all doing? So in today's video, I'm going to be comparing 1-day-old slime to 1-year-old slime. Keep in mind though that I have not played with the 1-year-old slime in such a long time, so as well as this being an experience for you guys, this will also be one for me. If you guys enjoy this video, then please make sure to hit that like button, so that I know that you guys enjoy these types of videos and that you just want to see more. So now we're going to pick out a question in the question box. Also, if you do not know what this is, then just check out my reviewing cheap slimes video so that you can find out what this is all about. So this question says, what is your number 1 squishy pet peeve? Also, shout out to my girl Kaylin out there. She actually thought of this question. My number 1 squishy pet peeve is when people squish the squishy, but literally do not take their fingers off of the squishy as they're squishing it. Kinda like this. Literally, guys, I just find that so unsatisfying. But I would still love to hear what your guys' number 1 squishy pet peeve is, so please make sure to comment down below your response, as well as hearing what my number 1 pet peeve is. Anyways, without further ado, let's get started. So here are the 1-year-old slimes, and here are the 1-day-old slimes. I'm just going to be starting with the 1-day-old slimes. So here is one of the ones that I made yesterday. This one is a super soft butter slime. Also, I don't have any names for this slime, so if you guys have any name suggestions, then make sure to comment them down below.
Mint ice cream.
This texture of this slime is super nice, super spreadable, and also the bubble pops on this are pretty good.
Look, you can see black dots in it. It's supposed to be mint ice cream.
And it also just has some green glitter in it.
Green? I don't play blue.
Here is another 1-day-old slime, aka a slime that I also made yesterday. I made a pretty big slime because I felt like it yesterday, so here it is. It is pretty thick, but it also has a super nice loose texture.
You should call it...
And this one also smells super nice. Now we are going to move on to the 1-year-old slimes. So here is the first one. I'm pretty sure that I named this one before, Electric Neon, and I think this was a butter slime. Oh my gosh, there's literally a hair in that. Well, that is pretty disgusting. Anyways, this used to be a super soft, nice butter slime.
Damn, that was hard.
Oh wow, this is so stretchy.
If you play with it more, then it'll be more softer. You just don't play with it a lot.
This has like a super hard kind of texture.
No, it doesn't.
Like it's really hard to explain, but in the middle it feels like there's a clump, even though there isn't.
You should call that one kiwi. It's kind of like a greenish yellow.
This is literally so hard that you can even see like the strings in it.
Okay.
Here's another 1-year-old slime. The top of this has like dried out slime.
It actually should be
I
called
don't know if you can see that, but it's dried out.
Cappuccino.
I actually thought this would be super sticky, but it actually
It's called
isn't.
a cappuccino.
The clay did dissolve from the slime, so they're like in different mixtures.
Mix it all up and it'll be a cappuccino.
But it does have a very
I
loose
bet
texture. Like
cappuccino
this used to be a
is fast,
super
and I only
buttery,
had them, like, once a
moldable
year.
slime, and now it just really isn't.
Twice or 3 a year. This year I just had 3 or 4, maybe over the limit. Okay.
And here is the last 1-year-old slime. This one is, I'm pretty sure, another butter slime.
That should be called strawberries. It's all separated. The actual slime is on
wow.
the bottom.
The bottom is so neon-y.
Yeah, because it's separated. And then you gotta mix it so it can be more like buttery. Because
This slime, I remember, used to smell like strawberries. Now this slime smells like chemicals.
Oh, so it is strawberry slime.
But,
Great.
I mean, other than that, it's actually not that
I
bad.
just named it that because of the color. But okay.
So now time for the comparison. So for these 1-day-old slimes, they felt a lot softer, and they actually also felt newer, which
I don't need to know that. Teen controls our day. So guys, I think that is all for today. I hope you guys liked the videos that I was watching with you guys. Ooh, what the? I think that's just for thumbnail. But yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I would love to I want you guys to hit the subscribe button and also like this video if you liked all the videos, and if they gave you like some heart attacks, like small ones, like you can't even feel them, like you're not actually, if it got you worried there, because the tank one got me so worried that a shark could come and then boom.